Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening, mate? This is your host, WRAPSTAR Boxing Knowledge Man. Got all the links, getting all the connections, and bringing the guest up live and direct to speak to you. You know what I mean? I'm putting these extra work in. You know, speaking to trainers, managers, boxers, promoters, speaking to all kinds of people now. WRAPSTAR coming up in the game. People are recommending my channel, sending me links, and telling people that they need to come to see WRAPSTAR. I mean, you can only respect that. You know, all these years, couple years that I've been grinding, we are actually official. This is an official channel. That is the realest boxing channel. We bring you the realest fucking exclusive lives over here, live and direct. And we're doing it again and again and again and again. So I think it's time we put some respect on my name. You know what I mean? I think it's time you guys recognize that WRAPSTAR is the official and he's legit, that I don't change my energy. I keep it the same, and boxing knows I'm 100%. But yo, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'm trying to get ABEL Sanchez in the channel in a minute. So let's get ABEL Sanchez. I'm trying to work on the link. And let me send him the link, and we're going to be speaking to the legendary ABEL Sanchez, the trainer of Gennady Golovkin. He used to be a trainer of Gennady Golovkin and many, many others. So let's speak to Abel Sanchez in a minute. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and support your host, WRAPSTAR Boxing Knowledge. Give me a minute, and I'll be back. Yo, 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 where's everybody in the building? Where is everybody in the building? Come on, we got legendary trainers coming over here. All right? I want to see some support, man. Come on, get into the show, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's see if we got Abel Sanchez over here. One sec. He's actually on my other fucking line. He can't fucking hit the link. He doesn't know how to hit the StreamYard link. Wait there. We're just working out the link for Abel Sanchez, or we're going to try and speak to him on the phone. He wants to he's trying to get into the link. So we got a link ready for him. I don't know. He's trying to fight. He's trying to do StreamYard. He said he wants to do Zoom. I don't normally do Zoom. That's not my way. So I'm trying to make the man go on StreamYard, and let's see if he can hit the link, or we'll call him and we'll do it over the phone. Give me a minute. Hello, Mr. Abel Sanchez. How you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for joining our channel all over the world. We have lots of fans in the live right now. I think you couldn't find the link, so we're doing it over the phone for now. But we appreciate your time.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Thank you so much. So we're gonna get straight to it. We are a boxing channel, speak boxing 7 days a week. We are in this sport. We got a lot of hardcore fans, and you know, you're one of the guys that we wanted to speak to. So thanks for your time, first and foremost.
I look forward to it.
Hey, right. I just want to start with a few things, Mr. Abel Sanchez. So I would like you to tell the fans, how did you get into boxing? How was this transition that Abel got into boxing?
When I was about 19 or 20, I started kickboxing. Then in one of the gyms that I was studying some karate, I run into a fellow at a boxing gym. He invited me. I went to a boxing gym and fell in love. Ben Lera's boxing club in South El Monte. And from then, it was just a matter of being around the fighters and wanting to be more involved in it. And, then I trained to fight for about a year and a half, but I had a construction business going at the same time, which was very difficult for me to do both. So I concentrated on just helping Ben in the corner and training fighters in the gym, and started from there.
Okay, so you kind of fell in love with the game, but you had your construction business, and from then you met fighters along the way, correct?
Correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think you might correct me here, but Lupe and Terry Norris and were your first fighters? Was Terry Norris?
Well,
Norris was your first fighter you trained?
Actually, it was Lupe Aquino. Lupe Aquino and I were in the gym together when I first started. Then he moved management to San Diego and started training in San Diego. Then got disenchanted with the coach that was there. He retired for a little while. We talked, and we talked about him coming back. He came back with me as his coach. And in 4 fights, I had him fighting for a world title. He won the world title against Emmanuel Stewart's Dwayne Thomas. And when we came back from France after the fight, the management team that had him had Orlin Norris and Terry Norris under contract. It was maybe within months that I started training them, and working with them produced the second world champion, which was Terry, and Orlin was the third world champion. And then I had a young man named Paul Vaden for about 10 fights who, once I stopped working with him because of disagreements with management, he became world champion about 2 fights after.
No, I mean, I don't know how most trainers don't ever get that kind of transition when they go and train fighters, that your first fighter is world level, world champion. You got a fighter like that. How did you get this credibility to get fighters at that level? And then you're getting world champion level fighters to make them into world champion fighters? Because it wasn't like you built them from the beginning. Was people giving you your credibility to say you need to go see Abel Sanchez?
Well, I think that the first one, it was because I worked with him in the gym, sparring with him and working out with him. And as you go on, you get knowledge, and maybe they believe in you, they believe in your tactics. So the first one was because of that. When I got the opportunity to train Terry and Orlin, it was because they were with the same management team, and I was coming back with a world champion from France. So it was a matter of myself educating myself. And I think that's what coaches don't do enough of today. They don't educate themselves and become better coaches so they can become better for their fighters. So the fighter can see right through that. Most of the fighters that we get as coaches are much more accomplished than the coaches in the ring as fighters. So we have to make sure that we educate ourselves, and we find a way to get inside of their head, and inside of their head by showing them that we know what we're talking about, or that we have a good game plan. So I did a lot of work on the internet. I did a lot of work in gyms on my own just to educate myself and just to become a better coach.
Okay. So my main thing is, Abel, you invested into a property in Big Bear. I then realized, because I've done my research, and I've realized that you invested into a property in Big Bear, and it was to do with conditioning for fighters. That was something that you transcended to, and then at some point you had a heart attack. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I'm a building contractor by trade. I've been a building contractor. So I got my license when I was a little under 19 years old, and was building houses and was doing a lot of remodeling. And I had the opportunity to go to Big Bear to train Miguel Angel Gonzalez when he was going to fight Oscar De La Hoya. And I saw the possibilities there for me as a building contractor and as a coach to start buying up properties to develop, to build custom homes. At the time, Big Bear was a hidden destination. And after 9/11, people started flocking there for the ski resort instead of flying. They could drive to Snow Summit in Bear Mountain. So I saw the possibilities and I bought a bunch of vacant property and started doing custom homes. And eventually, Emmanuel Stewart, in about 99, I believe, started training De La Hoya. And my idea was, as I was doing my construction, was to build a facility that Emmanuel could use. It could make like the Kronk West that Emmanuel could use. So I bought these lots in the middle of town and built a big duplex, big complex that was about 10,000 square feet with the garages downstairs, and eventually was going to convert it into a gym. Emmanuel Stewart, unfortunately, did not have the ability to stay up there because of all his commitments. It was impossible for the man to stay still in one place. So, and Big Bear was so far out of the way that he needed a private jet there to be jetting, wherever he had to go. So it ended up being built and finished and not used, used by my children for a vacation home, but not used as the intended purpose until about 2009.
That's when Oscar De La Hoya decided that he wanted to rent your property, correct?
Correct. 2008, December 2008 is when he rented it.
So
and
what
after
happened
that,
with
the
that?
people found out that I had a
How
gym.
did you get that transition with Oscar De La Hoya, that Oscar De La Hoya decided to take and rent that your plot?
Well, unfortunately for him, he had already sold his property. He had his own gym up there at one time. And he sold his property years before that, so he had no gym, but he wanted to trade at altitude. So he rented my place for 2 months, and people started finding out that I had a gym. And before I know it, I got fighters calling me and managers calling me and wanting me to train. I didn't want to get back into it, but with the kind of attention that it got because of 24/7 on HBO, I was getting the calls. Then in May of 2010, I believe, is when the Lufkin's people called me, and that's when my world changed.
Okay, well, now I want to get to the big question because, Abel, there is a lot more I want to speak about, but I know that we don't have that kind of time. Right now, I want to get to the main points of this interview. And, I'm sure, hopefully one day we can speak about some other stuff with you at some point. But the big transition is that Abel Sanchez met a fighter, which was Gennady Golovkin. How did this transcend, and how did you and Golovkin first transcended to this team and combination? When did that start? And when you saw him, you were so happy to be around that or train him? What happened?
My understanding is that in 2009, 2010, early 10, Gennady had issues with his promoter at the time. I believe it was Universal. He was rated pretty high up in the rankings, and they wouldn't give him a title shot. They wouldn't give him the shot that Gennady thought he deserved. So, from my understanding, the management team, Oleg and Max Herman, decided to visit the U.S. and scout out some opportunities or some other opportunities. So they visited several gyms, several people, several big name coaches, and on a Friday, I got a phone call. They got my number. I got a phone call, and they wanted to come up and meet me and see my gym that was already running because I had, like I said, Oscar trained there, and then I had other fighters that were coming up there and training, and so I had several fighters that I was training myself. So they came up on a Saturday afternoon. Gennady didn't look like much of a fighter. He looked like the choir boy, to tell you the truth. He came up with a couple videos of his previous fights. The managers and I and Gennady talked for about maybe a half an hour to an hour, and the managers decided to leave us alone, and they went into town to check out the town. Gennady and I put some videos into the VCR, and looked at some of his fights, and in my bad Russian and his bad English, we were able to communicate things that I thought he could be doing different. So we kind of hit it off. Then just came back after a couple hours. We went to dinner. At that time, I didn't know who Gennady Golovkin was. They were going to come up and meet me. I had no idea who they were bringing with them. So we had dinner. I went home. I got on the computer and looked him up, and I was so surprised about who I had in my gym. We had breakfast the next morning. They said, we'll see you in a couple months. And I thought, yeah, sure. You're going to see me in a couple months. And sure enough, in a couple months, I got a phone call to if I could pick him up at Los Angeles airport. He was ready to come and train. He'd be arriving like in the afternoon on some Russian airline. So I picked him up, came up to my gym. We trained for about a week in the ring, just moving around just to see what he was doing, how he was doing it, just so that I could get a gist of what he had or what he was bringing with him. Obviously, I knew that he had 350 amateur fights. I knew that he was an accomplished fighter. But I think Gennady fell in love not only with the fact that the gym was going to be all his own, it was going to be not a zoo like there is in some of the other gyms, and the fact that it was the town that was a small town, green trees, fresh air, altitude, everything. So it was a perfect storm for both of us.
But when you met, sorry, go ahead.
About a week into it, a week and a half into it, I caught him on the mitts. I wrapped his hands and I caught him on the mitts, and I thought, oh boy. I thought my vision was Julio Cesar Chavez at 160 pounds. We're gonna make a Mexican killer here that just a Kazakh that's gonna fight like a Mexican, I should say, and it's gonna be knocking people out. And soon after that, I sat him down on sit-up benches, and I had this dry erase board on one of my walls where I schedule my workouts, and I put the numbers 1 through 12 on there, and put Muhammad Ali at the top, and then left number 2 vacant, and then the rest of them I just fill in with the current good fighters of the time. I don't for Floyd, I'm sure Manny was one of them. And I said, if you give me 3 years, without uninterruptedly, without having a question or just making sure that I'm allowed to do my job, I promise you that you're going to be number 2 there in 3 years. You're going to be the most avoided fighter. You're going to be middleweight champion of the world. You're going to be undefeated. We're going to have a hard time making you fights. He looked at me like I was crazy. He looked at me like, come on, coach, that's not going to happen. I said, I'm telling you, 3 years. And sure enough, we were able to do that in 3 years. He was, after several fights, we hooked up with Tom Waffler, and the rest is history.
Okay, I got to get to these questions now. When you and Golovkin became a combination, and you knew you had a special fighter, one of the things I realized watching from England and watching you guys out is that the Mexican people were a little bit not taken by you because you are Mexican born. You are from Tijuana. You represent Mexico, but you are now building a fighter from Kazakhstan to beat everybody and bring the style that he needed to help him to beat the Mexicans. Did you get a lot of hate and did you get a lot of slack for training Golovkin like this?
No, actually, I'm gonna tell you this. I think that the Mexican fan, especially the Mexican fan, but Latin fans, they want to see a fight. They want to see somebody put it out on the line right in the ring. They don't want to see a dance. They want to see a fight. And it doesn't matter what nationality it is. The Mexican fan is a boxing fan. Yes, they have their favorites, but if a fighter fights and is not a braggadocious, is not the kind of fighter that's going to insult their intelligence, they're going to back him. They're going to back him. And when Gennady started knocking people out and fight like with the left hook to the liver like the Mexicans do and all that, they fell in love with it. And once we fought Rubio at the StubHub, I remember we set an attendance record close to 10,000 people. Tom Loeffler did a great job promoting that, and we had majority were Mexican fans, and they were on Gennady's side. We were fighting a Mexican, but they were rooting for Gennady. Why? Because I think he gave them their money's worth. He gave them what they came to see. Somebody getting knocked out. So I never got any slack for that. He was well received by the Mexican fans, and I think they enjoyed his type of fight.
Okay, so going forward, I want to take you past now when Gennady Golovkin was called the Boogeyman, and you had now bring this man to the stage of the world, and you and him were a great combination. It was the fight and the biggest fight of the world that at that time, because we're going to, cut corners. We don't have that long today, so I want to go to the main points. the biggest fight in the world, Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin. You were with Golovkin. Canelo Alvarez came up to fight Golovkin, and you were very confident that Golovkin will beat Canelo. But between that build-up, you and Canelo was not seeing eye to eye. Certain things that you would say about Canelo that got him pissed off. And I want to know, in that first fight with Canelo Alvarez versus Golovkin, were you very sure that Golovkin would beat a man like Canelo Alvarez? And did your game plan work to your satisfaction?
I believe that we beat him in both fights, but to this day, I still believe that. But I got under Canelo's skin, but that's my job, though. That's our job, to build up the fight.
Yes.
It was nothing personal. Canelo's a great fighter, and so is Gennady. But I had to do my part to make sure that I got under his skin, and he was going to do what we expected him to do, to fight the kind of fight that we expected him to fight. I believe that we had some corrupt judges or
So
judge.
you think it was a robbery
in the first fight?
Do you think the first
No,
fight
I
was a
don't think it was
robbery?
a robbery. No, I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was a close fight, but I still think we won. But to have a judge have it 118, 110,
That was
118,
corrupt.
112, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there was no, obviously the fix was in with that particular judge anyway. And then the second fight, I thought that he didn't really follow my game plan. My game plan was always Gennady doing the best that he does, which is attack, which is not so much throw punches attacking, but his presence was so influential in the fight because they were afraid of getting hit. He was so strong. And in the second fight, he just, for some reason, wanted to be a boxer. If you go back and listen to the tape, I think in the third or fourth round, I whispered in his ear, I says, we can't box this guy. We got to fight this guy. You got to take it to him. But he wanted to prove to people that he could box. I think that he threw beautiful jabs in that fight, but the judges were not used to seeing him throw jabs and backing up. The judges were used to seeing him go forward and be the aggressor. So I think that worked against us. I still think we won the fight, but the seventh round, which was probably Gennady's best round in the fight, was given to Canelo by one of the best judges in the world.
Wow.
Which didn't make any sense to me. But they were great fights, and I wasn't trying to insult anybody. What I was trying to do was just build up the fight for both of them.
I mean, you did say that Canelo Alvarez is not fighting like a true Mexican. And you said that my fighter is a true Mexican fighting style. And even Gennady Golovkin said to the world, Golovkin said, I'm the true Mexican fighter. I fight Mexican style. What was that game plan you and Golovkin were doing? Psychologically, you were getting Canelo upset a lot.
What I was trying to get Canelo to do was trying to get him to engage in the fight. I knew that Gennady was going to be a bigger man. I knew Gennady was going to be stronger. I knew Gennady was a bigger puncher. So it's easier for a fighter that fights Gennady's style to have somebody come at him. To have a guy dance away from him would have been not only a not entertaining fight, but it wouldn't have been to our benefit. So I thought that by goading him, I could get him to come forward. Canelo fought a good fight. They both fought a good fight. It was a close fight, very entertaining. I think the crowd got what they wanted. They both hit each other, which is what they're supposed to do at that level. You very seldom see a 90-10 fight at that level. So they both did very well and entertained the fans.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, do you believe in that first fight when Gennady Golovkin was pound for pound? And a lot of people believe Golovkin won that fight. Now, going forward, at that time, Golovkin was what, 36?
No, he's, see, that was 16, 23 now, 7 years ago.
So how old was he?
When he was 34. He was 34.
Okay, a lot of people say that Golovkin is a late bloomer and he was not in his prime. They said that if he was 30, he would have really showed that he was better. Would you agree or do you disagree with that?
No, I remember Manny didn't turn pro until he was about 28.
Wow.
Yeah, he turned pro after the Olympics, and what was that, 2004, I believe it was when he fought in the Olympics there, or was it 2004, 2008? 2004, I believe. So he was a silver medalist in the Olympics in 2004. She was born in 82. That was 18. He was 20, maybe 24 years old when he turned pro. Canelo was 16 years old or 15 years old when he turned pro. So they both had the same kind of mileage on them. They were both, at least professionally wise, anyway. No, he was not struggling with his fights. So by the time he got to me, by the time we got to that point where he was pound for pound the best fighter, he really didn't have that many miles on him. Rough miles, anyway. You know, guys at 30, in the early 30s already have had difficult fights. Gennady didn't have difficult fights because most of them were knockouts.
Now, can you tell the world there was a talk that you guys were trying to get Floyd Mayweather? And was there any talks, or was there any time that you thought that that fight could happen at the time when Mayweather was #1 pound for pound?
Well, I don't think that it was a talk that was serious in our camp. It may have been mentioned by somebody. It may have been mentioned by Floyd, but I think the media trying to make matches, but that was a match that was just too far fetched. I think he was too small.
Okay, what about Andre?
Andre Ward was never. It was never in my plans anyway to move him up. It was never my idea. I thought that at 168 he could be a little easier on his body as he got older, but it wasn't that Andre needed us. We didn't need Andre. Listen, Marvin Hagler fought his whole career. He's a Hall of Famer as a middleweight. Nobody ever asked him to move up. So it wasn't my idea. It wasn't my intent to suggest. And I don't think Tom Loeffler had any intent either to move him up. He wanted to clean out a division, be the best middleweight ever, and I think he did a lot of the things that we wanted. Andre, like I said, he needed us. We didn't need him.
Oh, really? It was like Golovkin was already on the standpoint of being a good, like a big commodity. So he didn't need Andre.
No,
Andre
sure.
was a bit boring.
Look at Canelo. Look at Canelo. Look at Canelo's making the bigger fights, the biggest fights ever. They need him. At the time, Andre needed Golovkin to make it a big fight. Who did he fight that made the kind of stamp on boxing that Golovkin and Canelo did? Nobody. Andre never fought anybody like that. So he needed us, in my opinion, anyway.
So I just want to let you know that you never hit the link, but you got a lot of fans who've just come in. Larry Lopez, Slide Counter, Hawker Mustang, the TBS, Isto, they all came over here. There's a lot more giving you a salute and appreciating your time.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I'm humbled by all the support. We did the best we could with what we had. We had a great fighter. We tried to take him to the heights that I had never been, he had never been, but I think we did well. Thank you for all the support.
But I want to say this, though. There's really a few questions that's coming in now. The biggest where we went to is that Golovkin, he certified himself. He made a big name. And Golovkin started to be the boogeyman. And when he fought Canelo, that was an amazing, amazing fight. It's going to go in history. He did win the fight in some people's eyes. And then there was the rematch. In the rematch, Canelo won the fight. And Canelo fought a little bit different. And Canelo started moving, or not even started coming forward to Golovkin more. Whereas the other fight, he fought a little bit different. Did you feel like Canelo really did change his game plan to beat, I know you don't think he beat Golovkin in the second fight, but do you feel that Golovkin never really adjusted that good in the second fight?
No, as I was saying a little while ago, I think that Canelo's style was dictated by the fact that Gennady wanted to box. Gennady wanted to box. He had prior to the fight, we had a lot of commentary about how he was just a slugger. He didn't know how to box. Listen, the man had 350 amateur fights. He knew how to box. But it got into his head that people were saying that he was just a slugger. He didn't have no finesse. He didn't. So I think that in the fight, he wanted to prove to people that he could box. And if you look at some of the jabs and some of the things that he was doing in the fight, he was boxing beautifully. But when a judge sees you for 20-some fights, attack, and pound the body and pound the arms, and now you're backing up, there's a tendency to think that the other guy is winning, in my opinion, anyway. And the other guy was busier coming forward because Golovkin wasn't coming forward. So I think that we played right into the wrong hand, and Canelo took advantage of it. And you got to give him credit for that. You got to give Eddie credit for that, because they took advantage of the fact that Golovkin wasn't attacking as he was in the first fight. So I think that if anything, we gave that fight away.
Now, one thing I'm going to say to you, Abel, you have got a lot of respect, and a lot of people believe that you have the remedy, like you have the magic potion to really how to beat a Canelo Alvarez. And you must studied Canelo a lot to give Gennady Golovkin the route and the yellow brick road and the game plan. Was that your game plan in the first fight? Was that something that you inbred into Golovkin to say, I need you to do this and this and this? Was that something you've studied for years to get this Golovkin to beat a Canelo?
No, I think it's a mutual thing. I think that it's a thing of in the gym discussing what we think is going to work as a team. We as a team have to be on the same page. So I think in the gym discussing it, listen, he had 350 amateur fights. He's a great fighter. So he was not an idiot. He was the guy that understood what needed to be done. But with collaboration and discussion and working on particular things in the gym, it just, we were on the same page. So I think it was a mutual thing. I think it was something that not only Gennady, but his brother too. His brother was a very accomplished amateur fighter also. So his twin brother.
Whose brother?
So it was a matter of
whose brother?
Gennady.
How come we don't know about his brother?
Because he didn't turn pro. When Gennady went to the Olympics, and Max and he decided that Max would stay back and take care of the family, and Golovkin would go off to Stuttgart when he signed with Universum, and he would be the pro fighter, and Max was going to take care of home. They were twin brothers. They're 20 minutes apart, but it was an agreement between the two brothers. So when you have a Max in the gym, who is also a genius inside the ring, he had a great amateur career. It's easy to make sense of what we need to do against a Canelo or against anybody. So I think it was a mutual thing between all of us, just putting our brains together and trying to come up with something that was going to work.
Wow. So he has a twin brother who was a very accomplished in the amateurs, but never did pro. Would you have said that his twin brother could have been world level?
You know, we fought several times, or one time, the second fight in Kazakhstan. Okay. And in talking to the coaches down there, they worked with them, because Kazakhstan has a storied history of amateur champions, Olympic champions. Talking to the coaches, they all, to a coach, would say to me that Gennady was the nice guy and Max was the mean one. Max was the one that wanted to hurt you. Max was the one that, he took things very, very serious, and he was the more vicious one of the two. Gennady just happened to have a great punch, heavy hands, and was able to, since he was the oldest, as he puts it, was able to convince him that he was the one be turning pro, and Max would stay back. But Max was very, very good as an amateur also. Yeah,
but Gennady Golovkin became a multi-millionaire. What's his brother doing now?
His brother is his partner. I don't know in what respect and how they do it, but his brother is right in the middle of it with Gennady. They're both.
Oh, so he takes care of his brother. He takes care of his brother.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Max and him are. I think that Max knows what Gennady's thinking before Gennady thinks it.
Wow. Okay, that's a good one. Now, I want to know, in your gym with Gennady Golovkin, did Golovkin fight big guys? Did you put him in sparring with like, light heavyweights or cruiserweights or 168 pounders? Did Golovkin spar some of the monsters, and has he knocked some of these monsters out in behind the scenes? I heard about it. I want to ask you.
Well, I probably had 25 different sparring partners up in Big Bear sparring with him, and it was always 4 or 5 at a time, 6 sometimes at a time. But the one thing about Gennady Golovkin, is that he was not abusive in the gym. He took care of his guys.
Wow.
Yes, he hurt them because he could punch. We used to have to put rib protectors on them if they wanted. I had some special rib protectors made so that Gennady wouldn't hurt their ribs. But no, he wasn't abusive. He took care of his guys because I think he understood that these are the guys that are going to get him ready for the fight. He can't be blowing guys out, and then we have nobody to spar with. So he would allow them to work, and he would work on his defense, and obviously not allow them just to hit him, but he was not abusive. He was actually a very good employer. I mean, if I can put it that way. He allowed them to work and allowed them to work on their skills, because we always believed, he and I both have believed, that we didn't have sparring partners. We had other guys that were trying to make a living as a fighter and trying to be champions themselves. We had the Jacksons up, Julian Jackson's kids up there. We had David Benavides was up there. We had a lot of,
you need to tell us about that. Please tell us, because I speak. You know, David Benavides, his family and his dad, they speak to me. They come here. They come here regular on our show, right? And he told me that he used to spar watching Golovkin. He wasn't, you know, there was a time he said, I really looked up to Golovkin. But he goes, there was a time that Golovkin gave me an opportunity to spar. And he goes, after I sparred him, he told you and many other people that bring that kid back because he's good. I think he can give us some work. And Benavides told me that he got the more sparring from Golovkin because Golovkin felt that he was good for it.
Oh, absolutely. David was only, I don't think he was quite 16 years old, as a matter of fact. But again, Golovkin wasn't an abusive type. He allowed David to work, and David worked in a manner that a lot of other guys didn't, because he wasn't afraid. David was in there doing his thing, and Golovkin then had to work himself, had to not allow the kid to just run over him, but he wasn't trying to hurt him either. But David gave us great work. There's a reason why he is the fighter that he is today, because he had a lot of talent. So yeah, Gennady and I both, and Max, discussed it, bringing him back and have him be consistent. But I think he started his pro career down in Tijuana, so he was doing some different things, and he was in Arizona, so it was a little difficult. But he definitely gave Gennady probably the best work we had.
All right, excellent. I want to go to this now. The big deal. Then Golovkin becomes a big name. Abel Sanchez, you're right there. The world is recognizing him. And we know now the big deal came along with DAZN, $100 million deal, right? $100 million deal comes along. Abel Sanchez, you and Golovkin, you split apart. It doesn't work out anymore. And one thing I respect you, and you have never been bitter. You've always said, that's like my son. You've been one of the only guys I've ever seen that never got bitter. But you need to tell us what happened at that moment when you split from Gennady Golovkin.
Well, I think it gets to a point in a fighter's career when these big contracts and these big numbers come into play, and all of a sudden new advisors come into play, and advisors don't understand what it really takes to be successful in the ring. It takes trust, it takes a system, it takes something that's worked for a long time. Why break it up? And I think that it came to the point where advisors advised him to go in a different direction, and for a lot of different reasons, and we split up. As I said, I always wish a lot of luck. I didn't want him hurt. I wanted him to make sure that he trained the same way and trained in a manner that was going to protect himself and not be one of those guys that are punchy at 40, 41 years old. So I was happy for him that he was signing that contract. Obviously, I would have loved to have been part of it, but he went his way, I went mine.
So it wasn't like it was over money?
I don't really want to get into that. It was over just advisors that advised him in a way that
misunderstanding.
That just wasn't beneficial. In my opinion, it wasn't beneficial to him, and it wasn't beneficial to what he was doing. And I think the proof is in the pudding. I don't think that he has looked as good as he did when he was with me in the last 3 or 4 fights. It's not. I don't think it's because of his age. I think it's because we had a great thing going. We had a great system going. We had I was lucky to have a Gennady in the gym that set the pace for the rest of my fighters that were very successful in the gym. But he stopped doing all the things that got him there. And little things at that level make a big difference.
Okay, another question. Gennady Golovkin looks like he is a warrior. We know he's a warrior. Did he ever have any tendencies to want to avoid any fights?
No.
He never ever told you, I want to avoid a fight.
No. When I first put those 12 names on the board, he was with me 9.5 years. Never once did he say no. Never once did he say that's too hard. Never once did he say that's too many rounds. Never once did he say anything negative. All he did was the soldier, and I was the captain, and he followed the I'm not gonna say the law, but he followed the rules that we were setting in the gym, and to a T. Probably the easiest guy to coach. Again, and having a Golovkin in the gym sets the pace for everybody else in the gym. They all followed the rules just like he did. They all did every 4 rounders did the same thing. He did the same thing that they did, just in a little more of it. But they all looked up to him, and it was easy for a coach to have that kind of guy in the gym because he never questioned anything.
So I know a guy who knows Demetrius Andrade. I spoke to them one day, about a few months ago, And some of these guys say, well, Golovkin avoided Demetrius Andrade. Is that true? Because after speaking to you, it doesn't look like he looks like he's went and fought everybody, bigger challenges. So is that false that he would never avoid any fighter like Demetrius Andrade?
That's not true. We were champion in 3 different belts. I think WBC, WBA, and IBF. And the WBO was held at that time by a young man from England. What the heck was Saunders? Saunders, I believe, was his name. And he kept talking about we were avoiding him also.
Yeah.
So I happened to have a fighter fighting in England. I believe it was Carson Jones fighting Kell Brook the first time. And I was asked the same question you're asking me, except it was a different name. It was Saunders. And I said, everybody talks about that. And what I would like to see is I would like to see Saunders people make Golovkin an offer. Make him an offer. Don't let Golovkin be the one that carries all the weight of making a fight. Make him an offer, and if he turns it down, then you can at least say he turned you down. Yeah. Going back to Demetrius Andrade, never once did we receive an offer. Never once did you read that there was an offer. If his people believe in him so much, then make an offer. Make an offer to the man. Make an offer to the man. Let the man turn it down, and once he turns it down, then you know that he's avoiding you. You can say that he's avoiding you, but never once. You will never read anywhere that there was offers made that Gennady turned down.
Look, ladies, I just want to tell a lot of people are coming into the channel. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we have ABEL Sanchez. He no longer works with Golovkin anymore, but he's still telling you everything that he knows. So when people say that Golovkin avoided fighters, it's just smoking mirrors then, isn't it, ABEL?
It's smoke and mirrors. There's people wanting to make a story. But like I said, if you really, it's like I have a truck sitting outside here in my driveway, and I tell you that I want to sell it, and the truck is worth probably $100,000. I tell you I want $1 million for it. How bad do I want to sell it? So if they want to fight, if Andre wanted to fight, these people could have offered Golovkin or Tom Loeffler X amount of dollars, and then let Golovkin say, no, I don't want it. Then you can say that they turned you down.
So Eddie Hearn never ever put an offer for Andrade to Golovkin?
Never.
Okay, so you see, when you see casual people, they make something out of it. So we like to hear from the horse's mouth, which is yourself.
Yeah. To my knowledge, there was never an offer from Saunders or from Andrade or from any named fighter that for a fight to be made.
Okay, my other question is, before we finish with Golovkin, because, he's now at the end of his career, what do you think Golovkin should do now? And what's your message for Golovkin?
I think that Gennady needs to do whatever he wants for his future. He's got a beautiful family. He doesn't need to be fighting anymore. He doesn't need to be that stepping stone for somebody that's coming up. They need him more than he needs them. And if he wants to retire, he's had a great Hall of Fame career. There's no reason for him to prove anything to anybody anymore. He's 41 years old. He needs to enjoy himself.
Do you think this is really now Golovkin should just retire now? Well, not your decision, but he's at a point now that he's done all the fruit of all labor, nothing else to prove.
No, I don't think he's got anything to prove, unless, of course, somebody comes out with a ridiculous offer for him against somebody that he feels he can beat or he feels he can be competitive with. It's got to be a ridiculous offer because he is in a place right now where he doesn't need that. So in my opinion, if that comes up, then I could see him doing something. But if not, then what for?
Yeah. Anyway, so I appreciate that, what you said. And I want to get to the biggest topics of today and the current times. So we got David Benavidez and his dad came the other day. I spoke to David. You saw what I'll first want your view and your valued point about the fight that David Benavidez versus Andrade. What do you think of that fight?
I thought that we'll start with Andrade first.
Yeah.
I thought that Andrade has wasted a lot of time in his career.
Wow.
Beautiful, talented fighter. Obviously, champion in several divisions. Had the opportunity to fight a lot of fights and to cement his name in the annals.
Why didn't those fights happen? Why didn't those fights happen for Boo Boo Andrade?
You know, I wasn't there. I wasn't there when it was canceled, but there was too many fights being canceled on him. Whether it was his fault or somebody else's fault, he didn't get a chance to show us what other fighters there have showed the public what a great fighter they are. Very talented young man. But he fought David at an age where rust was there, size was not there, fight experience was not there, consecutive fights were not there, kind of rhythm going into a fight wasn't there because he had not been busy. You can be in the gym forever, but that doesn't matter. It's actually game time that really matters. And as far as David is concerned, David fought a perfect fight for me. David fought a kind of fight that I would love to see him fight again and again and again. He doesn't need to be sitting on the ropes like he used to in the past. Yeah. He is very talented, very quick-handed, not the biggest puncher in the world, but he throws 2 and hits you with 4. So that's difficult to defend. So no, he fought a perfect fight for me. I think that that's probably the best fight I've ever seen him fight.
So the biggest fight in the world, how do you see this fight playing out? As you've already studied Canelo, you've had David Benavidez from a young kid. Can you please tell us and the world, how do you see that fight playing out if Canelo fights David Benavidez?
In my opinion, I don't think that David deserves it yet. I think that he needs to show us again what he just did to Andre. Remember, Andre, all the negatives that I said about Andre a while ago, that goes towards David, because David fought a guy that was not really in his prime, not really in his weight, not really at the level that David's been fighting at. Even though he's a great fighter, he just wasn't busy enough for me. So David got a guy at that point of his career. Now, if David does this again, and I did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and they were asking me about what I thought the fights would be for next year. And I thought I would love to see David fight Charlo, the other Charlo, the middleweight. Right. And if he does the same thing to Charlo, then okay. Then I think that the public deserves a Canelo David fight.
But if it happens
until he does it again,
if it happens now, who do you pick?
Canelo.
So you say Canelo right now can beat David in your eyes?
I think so.
Well, we better get David to come and hang out with you then.
No, I think that David needs to show me that he can do this again. If he can do this again, this is what I would love to see next year in May. Have David fight Charlo and have Canelo fight Munguia. That gets those two guys out of the way, and then the winners fight each other in September.
Hey, I've got to give it to you that at the end of the day, even though you are just keeping your fair, humble opinion, I didn't expect that from you, but you actually say right now Canelo beats David Benavidez. So do you feel that Gennady Golovkin is a better fighter than David Benavidez in Golovkin's prime, like what he brings?
Oh, in his prime? Well, of course. Golovkin was one of the best middleweights, in my opinion, to ever lace him up. But not now. Obviously, he's 41 years old. But at 34, let's just say right around the first Canelo fight, David doesn't stand a chance against Golovkin right now. If he does it again, if he shows me that again, what he did against Andre, then I would believe that he's made the transition from that little boy that sat on the ropes and allowed people to work and really wasn't interested in showcasing the product, as I like to say it. If he does it again, then yes, I believe that he can give Canelo the toughest fight of his career.
Okay, so he's on the way, but you just feel right this moment, Canelo takes David Benavidez, because Benavidez needs a bit more consistency in order for him to win that fight.
look at what Canelo has done to his last 5 opponents, other than the Ryder fight, which in my
They
opinion
think he's
was
declining
difficult.
though, sir. With my
Pardon?
honor, I mean, with my respectful answer to you, a lot of people feel that Canelo is not looking the best in the last 3 fights. Can you please tell people what you think about that?
Okay, the Ryder fight, I'm not going to say he didn't look good in the Ryder fight. The Ryder fight was the wrong kind of fight for me. Not the wrong kind of fight, the wrong place for the fight. Whenever you fight in your hometown, there's so many commitments and so many distractions and so many things that go on in your training and your preparation for a fight. He's the promoter for the fight. He's doing all these things. So your mind is not really on fight. But what did he do to Plant? And what did David do to Plant?
So you think yeah, I mean, David Benavidez hurt Plant, but he never stopped Plant. Canelo Alvarez managed to hurt and stop him.
He made him quit. Not quit physically, but quit mentally.
Yes, he did.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. David, if he shows me again, I mean, who am I? I mean, he's not show me. If he shows the public that he can do this again to a quality opponent, which Charlo, I think that because of the Jose Benavidez fight, I think that he's gotten a lot of the rust out, and he's a very talented fighter also. So if Benavidez is able to do that to Charlo, which is at those levels that we're talking about, then I think that it's a heck of a fight with Canelo. Then I think it could be a 50-50 fight. Until then, I think it's a 55-45, 60-45 for Canelo.
So if you think that, then who do you think's Canelo's toughest opponent at 168 then?
People better be it.
But those are 175.
Yeah, there's nobody at 68 that's too tough for Canelo.
Okay, so
David and Canelo are 1 and 2.
David and Canelo is number 1 and 2 in your eyes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Who do you think now want to take it to somewhere else? I heard an interview with you, and I want to know, you said that Ryan Garcia, even though Ryan Garcia is getting a bit of slack, but Ryan Garcia came out with a knockout win the other day against Durat, and he's not getting that much credit because I think sometimes they didn't like the way he was on the back foot for a bit, and then he came and he, created that opening. You say that Ryan Garcia can beat Teofimo Lopez. What do you mean by that?
Okay. At this point, and I've said this in the past, any coach takes on a new fighter, it takes the coach a couple fights to get into the fighter's head, what kind of style and what kind of approach you want to have to a round, to a minute of a round, to a 12-round fight or to a 10-round fight. So once they get on the same page, then I think the coach's stamp then is able to be seen. Derek needs time with Ryan. I don't like I didn't see the fight, but I don't like what I'm told was happening in the fight with him, what he was doing. I'll give that one fight for Derek. Let him fight it. Let him go in the training camp again and see what Derek is able to do with him. If Derek is able to do some changes with him, some modifications, I think that Teofimo comes right at him, and I think that Ryan has enough power to hurt Teofimo.
Right.
Because Teofimo comes right at him.
Right.
Now, guys like Haney, guys like Shakur, guys like Gervonta Davis that are good boxers that are not going to come at Ryan, that's difficult. Ryan's going to get beat. But a guy that comes right at him, he may just close his eyes and throw a left hook and land it, and he hurts. And he hurts just like Teofimo got knocked down in the first or second round with the Cambrosos, with just a jab. I think that Ryan can do that. But the other part of it too, why I think that is because Teofimo comes in with a lot of baggage, a lot of mental baggage, and I think that's detrimental to his career. I think that's detrimental to how he performs. He's too emotional sometimes in the ring. So that's why I said that I thought Ryan had a chance, given the fact that Derek can take him several fights before he has to do a Teofimo fight.
Okay, and the other question is, we got a fight coming this weekend. We have Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis. Please, could you break that fight down for us?
I think the Regis is a good veteran fighter. I guess not really on the level that Devin Haney is. I think Devin Haney beats him. in a decision. I don't think he knocks him out. I think Devin Haney is one of the top 140 pounders. 135 he gave him up, so 140 pounders. But I don't think it's going to be an exciting fight that you're gonna want to sell the farm to see. I don't think Haney has proven to us yet that he can put butts in the seats like some of the other guys, like Tank can or even Teofimo or even Ryan. But Haney is a very talented fighter. Regis is just not quite at that level, I don't think.
What do you think about Matias?
Oh, that's my favorite fighter.
Now talk to me about this guy, because this guy,
wow.
He is a Puerto Rican, and I'm telling you, England is talking about him now because they feel like he could be the next T.O. Trinidad. Talk to me about Matias.
Yeah. And listen, when I first started with Gennady, when we first started knocking people out, we had 20 some knockouts in a row. Every time he was in a fight and he hit somebody with the first significant punch, it didn't matter what it was, a jab or a hand, a hook, whatever it was. And I remember I would say to my assistants and to my guys in the corner, I said, look at the look on the opponent. As soon as he got caught with that shot, that opponent, like I got 12 rounds of this. You know, it's like all of a sudden you know that you've been hit. Those are heavy hands. The same thing happens with Matias. When Matias, if you look at the fight that just happened, the guy let out some steam. The punches weren't hurting him. He had his hands up, but the guy wasn't moving him. All his shots that he was hitting him with, Matias was just walking through him. He really wasn't moving him. Every time Matias hit him with any shot, he moved him. The jab popped his head back. The jab, a body shot, you could hear it and you can sense the movement in his. What was the young man's name? Ergashaw, I think his name was.
Yeah,
Ergashaw. You could see the movement in his body and the movement in his head. The movement when he got hit on the hands, on the arms, you could hear it and you can kind of feel it. As a coach, I could feel the punches because there's the same thing that I experienced with Gennady whenever he would hit somebody. I love Matias. I think that if he keeps his head together and doesn't get out of whack and doesn't have any issues outside the ring, he could be there for a while. He's got the power and the ability. He's not Shakur Stevenson and he's not Tank Davis as far as the boxer's concerned.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, last couple of questions. And next time, I would love to get you in front of the fans so you can see the fans, you can speak to them, and they love to ask you questions. So maybe we'll do this maybe in a month's time after Christmas and get you live and direct to the fans around the world. Would that be okay?
Sure, I love that.
That would be amazing. And you know what, Abel, there's a couple more questions just for you, and I'm going to let you go. But the question is, Monster Naoya Inoue, the Japanese fighter, we want your opinion of this guy in this modern era.
Okay, I've only seen him fight once. I saw him fight at the Snub Club here in Southern California. He fought a young man from Boston, I believe, or back east somewhere, and was able to put him on, I think, in 7 or 8 rounds. I haven't really paid that much attention to him because it's not a fighter that I've never had really smaller guys like that, so I don't pay attention that much to the smaller weights. I shouldn't say that, but I don't. But I hear from everybody. I hear from Rudy Hernandez, who is a very good friend of mine, and some of the people that go to Japan, that this young man is an animal. He is something very special. But I have not had the chance to really study him and watch him.
Okay. And my other thing is Sonny Edwards versus Bam Bam Rodriguez. That's another fight. Sonny Edwards. You're not watching those guys?
Yeah, the English kid. The English kid, yeah.
Yeah, English kid versus Bam Bam.
Yeah. I was just talking to a coach the other day, and we're talking about different regions in different styles of fighting. And I was also talking to a young man that I trained. His name is Arsen Goulamirian, who's the cruiserweight champion, WBA cruiserweight champion. And he, during the COVID and during my small retirement, was able to train in England and was able to train in some of the European countries. And he was explaining to me that the training habits and the training regimen that they do, and it doesn't appear to him, and I've kind of noticed that too, that they put any emphasis on power, on punching, on knockouts. It's more of the sweet science. It's more of the boxing. And most of the guys that come out of Europe, out of England, are great boxers. They're just not, for some reason, it's just not strong enough for some of the punches that they go up against. So, from my understanding, Bam Bam is a little puncher, a little strong kid. I've never seen Sonny fight, but I know that he's going to put up a great fight because they always do. But I don't know enough about them to give you a educated guess on who would win or who would lose.
Okay, I know you had a relationship with one of our countrymen, which is Joe Joyce, and Joe Joyce unfortunately lost a fight against Zhang. He was in the highest position in his life in boxing. What do you feel about Joe Joyce? You trained Joe Joyce. You worked with these guys. How did you see that fight with Zhang?
One of my favorite people that I've ever worked with, Joe Joyce. Such a gentleman, such a great guy. When I was working with him, and you can ask Joe this if you'd like. When I was working with him, I explained to Joe that we had a plan. We had a development. I realized that he was a little older, but we had a development. I could have accelerated it. We had a development plan, in my opinion, of developing some things that you're going to need at that level when you get to that level. They had him on a fast track. Unfortunately, didn't allow him to develop those things. I stopped working with him after about 3 or 4 fights because I didn't think that they were going to allow him to do the things that were necessary to compete at the level that he's at, or that he eventually got to. So I was not happy to see him lose the way that he did. I wasn't happy that he lost in a knockout fashion in the second one. Yeah. But when you don't develop those skills that are going to be necessary at the next level, you can fight the 8s and 10s and 6s and maybe even a junior title, and you think that you're ready for the big guys. You know, I look at boxing as a pyramid. When you get to the top, everybody's good. You know, at the bottom, as you're climbing and the pyramid gets smaller and smaller, the guys are going to get better, but your natural skills and your strong chin and your durability is going to help you. But once you get to the top in those main guys, because Zhang has got to be one of the top 5 in the world. Once you get up there, you're going to need more than just your durability to be able to beat those guys. And unfortunately, Joe didn't develop those, in my opinion, anyway. And that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really very upset about him moving to England and training in England, because I knew that I wasn't going to get the opportunity to develop those things.
Yeah, it's a shame because you spoke very highly of Joe, and people feel that Joe was not really mentally in tune for a fight like that, But it is what it is, and I'm sure you got the best well wishes for Joe Joyce. Another last thing is, what is Abel Sanchez doing now? What does he do in boxing right now?
Well, I have a young man that coaxed me out of retirement for a little while, who is had a fight coming up in December, but it got canceled now. There's being scheduled for sometime in March. It's actually a pretty big fight. I'm not at liberty to say against who, but his name is Arsene Gulamarian. He is 28-0. He's the WBA cruiserweight, super cruiserweight champion. So he'll be coming back in the training camp probably in January, and we'll fight in March, and we'll see what happens. I'm not really interested in starting with anybody again as far as at a young age. I wouldn't mind being involved in somebody's career that's a little further along. 68 years old. I don't think that I have the time to start somebody from scratch again, or somebody new. But I would love to be involved with somebody that needs my sort of expertise. I would love to help.
Mr. Abel Sanchez, it's been a pleasure for our channel and our fans and our subscribers to have you over here. It's been a really great interview with you. There's a lot more I want to say, but I do want to cut this interview because it's been going. We initially had you for 30 minutes, but it's been so great that we've had you here for an hour now. Because this interview, I got to say, I do a lot of interviews, but this has been pretty cool, and we really appreciate you. And I wish you the best Merry Christmas to you and your family, and I hope to schedule you for January, February, when we can do a proper live, and we made the best of what we had. So we really appreciate you over here.
Well, Merry Christmas to all the fans. Merry Christmas to you and yours. I look forward to next year and look forward to doing it again.
Hey, God
Thank
bless you. God bless you, Abel Sanchez. And we really appreciate you. The working man appreciates you because that's who we have a lot in the boxing world. So we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, as you see again, WRAPSTAR Boxing Knowledge comes with another banger. I take my time out in my life just to do this for you. Ladies and gentlemen, just to do this for you, I'll take my time out. I could be doing hundreds of things, but I did this because I'm speaking to people, and people, now I bring them over here so you can have an exclusive live. Right here, live and direct. And let's be honest, bruv. I don't think Abel Sanchez has never met a man like me. Did you see the way I asked the questions? I don't want to give myself a high five or anything like that, but I keep the guest entertained. I'm like an encyclopedia. I took Abel Sanchez in an interview today that he can go round the world into the biggest channels, and I bet you hasn't enjoyed anything like he did today. I bet he ain't enjoyed no interview like the way he did today. We spoke to him about the nitty-gritty points about Golovkin's highs and Golovkin's lows. His point of view on Canelo Alvarez. Hey, bro, come on. By the way, Abel Sanchez is calling me right now. Abel Sanchez likes the interview. The man is calling me behind the scenes. I got to go. I'm going to talk to Abel for 5 minutes. I got another exclusive coming later on. We have another guest, and we're going to talk to you soon. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I think you should support your host, WRAPSTAR Boxing Knowledge. We out.